Kia ora and welcome to the Niggly Niche Cast. I am the Diggity Doodah Doc, and as always, I am joined by the wildcard who has the wobbliest of wobbly styles. Wildcard, Talo Falava.
Yeah, g'day.
I'm going to give you a nice little introductory platform before I go on a little Warriors tangent today about the New Zealand Aotearoa Warriors. How are you?
I'm doing fine, Doc. A little chilly. Believe the weather is turning. But that's just part and parcel of recording in a shed, so see how we go.
What did you have for dinner last night?
Oh, a bit of pasta, I believe.
Bit of pasta, the old carbohydrates.
Yep, got to stock up. Winter is coming.
Stocking up for the hibernation wildcard. We have a thing called Patreon, so anyone out there who enjoys the docile tunes of the wildcard and the less docile tunes of myself, whether in the podcast form, in the written form, however you get your niche cache content, and you like it, you enjoy it, jump on Patreon, support us in the best way that you can support the niche cache, and we endeavour to, as we grow and as we build, make it a two-way street of generosity. So you hook us up and we hook you up. So if you do like what we do, the best way to support us is on Patreon at the moment. This is an episode of the Niche Cast all about the Aotearoa Warriors, and as the Diary of a Warriors fan, I think I have a simple... I won't say it's concise because my words are going to be absolutely all over the show here. It's a simple message about the Aotearoa Warriors that I think applies to most seasons. Probably not most, like maybe the last two seasons, as we have embarked on this new era of the Warriors. The Warriors are just building. They're just developing. They're moving into their season. And they are ticking boxes, working their way through the start of this season, figuring out. I think Stephen Kearney has a lot to figure out. He's got a lot to figure out in terms of his selections. Some of them have been a bit weird. We're not all aboard the positivity. Well, we are always all aboard the positivity, but there are some criticisms here as well about the Warriors and Stephen Kearney, selection-wise, performance-wise, but ultimately, we saw it last season on a different level, how the Warriors won 5 games in a row, and those early season wins eventually got leveled out by the length and depth of an NRL season. Everything evens out. And this period, that gives NRL teams, and I think the Warriors are definitely not the only team in this category. Sure, some teams like the Melbourne Storm, Sydney Roosters, they come out slanging their balls all over the show. They're just showing everyone what an amazing NRL club they are. They are the exceptions to the rule. Because you've got other teams like the Bulldogs win and lose. West Tigers winning and losing. You've got Gold Coast Titans look good and then they look shit. You've got the Brisbane Broncos who are at an interesting juncture, which is pretty much the exact same juncture Anthony Seabot was at last season with the Rabbitohs. So I think in general, a lot of these NRL teams take time to adjust to any new officiating. How different teams are operating, what is happening in the NRL. It takes time to settle in, let alone how you want your team to play. So my message to Warriors people, just relax your sacks. Crikey, Jack. I will get into some details when I allow the wildcard to bounce back to this idea, but we just got to chill out. Wildcard, did you expect the Warriors to get anywhere close to the Rabbitohs without Blake Green?
I won't say I didn't expect them because, they've got some firepower in that team, and the Rabbitohs are the kind of team where if you can run them around a little bit, you can have a chance. But, I mean, even with Blake Green, I still would have expected that Rabbitohs forward pack to roll down the middle and do pretty well. So I think they certainly overachieved in that game, and they played pretty bloody well, really. I think you said it was their best performance of the season. I thoroughly agree with that. Yeah, but as they say, championships aren't won in the first month. You got to get through that. I mean, you don't even really need to look at the table almost until Origin 1 is when the table starts to, take any shape. And even then, through the Origin period, as we know, things get weird. So maybe it's not even till after that. But it does take time to settle in. And the other thing that we've got this early in the season is it's still at the mercy of, like, how good your draw was and how tough your fixtures have been, and a lot of things. A lot of little things that take a while to level out into the course of a season. So, yeah, I don't think anyone needs to be in any way panicked about what the Warriors are doing. Couple of rough losses in there. I think the performance against the Seagulls was just a shocker, and I don't know how I say this, but the Dragons play the Sea Eagles this week, so I don't want to jump to any conclusions about how good they may or may not be. So. But yeah, they did well against the Rabbitohs, I thought. They lost, but they did well. Is that fair to say?
Yeah, and when you think about how they threw the game away, it was a lot of a lack of control in the last 20 minutes, which is, based on what I know about Blake Green, his skill set directly aligns with what the Warriors needed and what eventually caused the Warriors to lose that game against the Rabbitohs. So overall, I thought it was a very good performance. As I said, best performance of the year. And in terms of the big losses that we've also seen, that's no different to last season. And that can be looked at as a major issue. But when you look across the NRL, it's nothing all that different to what happens to other teams. And the thing about the NRL is you are off 1%, 2%, and that can just be a simple attitude adjustment. And there's a high possibility, because NRL Rugby League is highly competitive. If you're off that 1 or 2% and your opponent shows up 100%, attitude, skill, execution, everything firing on all cylinders, you're going to get smoked. Because their opposition are pretty damn good at rugby league themselves. And that happened last season. It was also a case of... you also said there that the matchup thing about the Rabbitohs have a style of footy that can be a matchup issue. So the Warriors have a more mobile, they've got a smaller forward pack that can, what the Warriors did against the Rabbitohs was running a lot of angles, so you get guys running outlines out towards the edges. You've got guys like Jazz Tavanga just bibbing and bobbing through the middle. You got speed around the ruck, whether it's Roger Tuivasa-Sheck or Issac Luke in some capacity last week. You've got the Warriors match up well against the Rabbitohs because they can run them around, they can throw the footy around and move the Burgess brothers around. That doesn't exactly result in a good matchup against other teams. So as the Warriors are figuring out their style of footy, how that applies to the 2019 NRL, and along with personnel issues, there was no Blake Green last week. We are yet to see a fully fit 80-minute performance from Issac Luke. Nathaniel Roache has been in and out of the team. I still think he has a large role to play in this Warriors group this year. So you've got, and the forward pack is constantly changing at this stage. I don't think we've figured out our best forward pack right now. So that just means that there are going to be many blips on the radar, and last season those blips were major losses. And yes, there can be the points differential, which is important for the Warriors because I think they are a mid-table team. Points differential comes into it when you're looking for top 8 places. So yeah, those big losses can be a bit of a nasty reminder of how shit you were. but it's the gap between the Warriors' best footy and worst footy is still quite big. But I think as the season goes on, the consistency of performance is what will be the most notable difference for this Warriors team. And overall, I think the Warriors are a mid-table team with the potential to get a lot better. I don't think we're going to see the Warriors. They may miss the top 8. They may finish 10th, but I don't think you're going to see the Warriors finish any lower than 10th. And I definitely think you're going to see the Warriors, at the very least, finish 7th or 8th. But there is a great potential for the Warriors to improve, develop as the season goes on. And you could see them emerge as a top 6, top 4 footy team as well.
Well, there's no sports league in the world like the NRL where a team can lose by 40 one week and then win by 40 the next week. And it's almost like, it's almost like to the point where a team does lose by 40, you expect them to come out the next week and put in a big performance sort of thing. And it's just kind of funky how that works in this sport more than anything. And yeah, the Warriors did have a bit of that in them last year, eh? And I guess it takes time to iron out those patterns and those things, and to get to the point where, you can, I don't want to say lose with dignity, because a loss is a loss regardless. But yeah, that points difference is going to be crucial come the end of the season when you've got 6 teams all separated by 2 points between about 6th and 11th or whatever, and that's just the way it always seems to go in this competition. It was the way it was last year, and that good points difference is basically an extra win, because when that tiebreaker comes around, But I guess what the Warriors have in their advantage is that, unlike a lot of other teams in that sort of weird kind of mid-table position, and right now my Dragons are certainly in that conversation as well, the Warriors also have the potential to do exactly what that thing, lose by 40 one week, win by 40 the next week. They've already smashed the Bulldogs once, so I guess that's not something I'd be too worried about either at this stage of the season, because I think they're going to have some very big victories along the line, because they just seem like a team where if it clicks, and when it doesn't, it's because they're a team that relies a lot on those kind of 1%er type things and not skipping corners. There's not really there's not a Sean Johnson you can just throw the ball to now and say, do something magic. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, perhaps, but they are a team that's going to go through the process and whatever. And so, yeah, when it struggles, there's often not going to be an answer, and it's going to be an ugly 80 minutes. But when things click, I think they're also going to have the exact inverse of that, where they have some big victories over the season.
And it's a lot more difficult to operate with that style of footy if you're playmakers and your spine is not consistently playing 80 minutes. So it's having a fit and healthy Issac Luke play 80 minutes is a huge point of difference for this Warriors team, and we haven't seen it yet. And how Nathaniel Roache comes back into the team is also going to be a very interesting piece of the puzzle, because he is exceptionally different to Jazz Tavanga. Jazz Tavanga's best position is kind of that roving middle forward, similar to how Brandon Smith plays, similar to how Saliva Havili plays with the Canberra Raiders. The mobile, nifty middle forward who is tough enough, rugged enough that you don't lose anything defensively, and they give you a different body shape, a different set of footwork, different skill package with the footy on attack. So I think Jazz Tavanga can still play a role if he's not playing dummy half, but even if Roache comes on for Issac Luke and you get 60 minutes of quality footy from Issac Luke, the speed Nathaniel Roache has is Damien Cook-like, and it is such an X factor that suddenly you've got a Warriors team that just plows through the middle of the field with the footwork of Roger Tuivasa-Sheck as well, and that's having some stability in the dummy half rotation, which is so important when you have a halves combination like the Warriors have right now, because what's happening is that teams know and understand that they can put a lot of pressure on Blake Green because he's going to do the bulk of the work, which may even out, definitely even out over the season, because I think we've seen how much potential Chanel Harris-Tavita has, and that he is probably a more solid option than Adam Kieran. But if your dummy half isn't doing anything in terms of kicking, running, and offering a threat out of dummy half, the opposition defensives to have the jump. They've already got the step on the pass going out to Blake Green, and they can load up their pressure on the halves, Blake Green, and then a young half as well. So the Warriors haven't really had that consistent threat at dummy half, and that's going to be a key area to watch out for as we move through the season as well.
Yeah, I remember us talking in pre-season a lot about how crucial Issac Luke is to this team as a playmaker and as a ball runner and even as a bit of a kicker as well. And I guess not having him at max capacity kind of highlights the I guess it's still a gamble that they've gone with, in, you know, not replacing Sean Johnson with a outside NRL half, and it's tricky to do that at that time of the season anyway. But I mean, it's an up and a down thing. You trust the young guy you brought in from Aussie. You trust the young guy you got coming through your own academy, and then there's gonna be some I guess speed bumps along the way with that, because you just don't. There are certain things you can only learn through experience at the top level, and I guess that's just what they're going through at the moment, and probably will go through for most of the season. Like, it's just kind of the way that goes when you chuck a young guy in a key position and just like trust them to go along. So you think Harris-Tavita has pretty much edged off Kieran as it stands right now?
Yeah, the defensive performance against Sam Burgess was notable, to say the least. And like whatever happened in that game against the Rabbitohs, yes, there were blips in how Chanel and the options he took and how his execution when the game mattered most, but I would expect that out of a dude playing his second game against one of the better teams in the NRL. Defensively, he was very strong. I like his passing game. He's got a varied passing game. He's got a big left boot as well, which was everything that Adam Kieran, all the hype around Adam Kieran was that he's got a big left boot. Chanel Harris-Tavita has the same thing, and he's also a bit more dynamic running the footy. There was an instance, I think, against the Rabbitohs where we saw a bit of speed from Chanel Harris-Tavita. He's got a good left foot step as well. I just think all round he's just a more solid option, and yeah, I think he's going to get the run fairly consistently now. But you go back to the importance of Issac Luke. I think the importance of Nathaniel Roache is also crucial here, like, because we saw it against the Bulldogs. We saw how dangerous he can be, and it's just how he runs the footy is very different to how Jazz Tavanga runs the footy. And I think like the thing I'm most interested now in is how or whether Nathaniel Roache and Jazz Tavanga can be on the same bench together. Because I think Nathaniel Roache just needs to be in the team to offer speed out of dummy half. And like Issac Luke, whenever he runs, he makes meters, he bounces around, he gets an offload, he passes. He is exceptional. As you said, one of the most important Warriors players. But if you put Issac Luke in conjunction with Nathaniel Roache, that threat around the ruck is going to be lethal.
That's a pretty interesting idea too, because like, the Warriors, I think, are a team right now who have that danger of being a little too predictable in a pretty complicated sort of NRL scheme. When you don't, when you are predictable, you get beaten. It's kind of the way it goes. That's just the pattern. And so if they do have like little, just like twists in the game plan, just guys who can offer something different to other people, I guess it's kind of an interesting little option, because we're talking about an extra bench guy here. Can you fit this guy as opposed to, a bigger forward or whatever? But it's actually kind of essential to the way they play, is to be able to offer different looks to the opposition and just chuck some stuff out there which maybe wasn't expected, or just maybe is a little, even just if it is expected, just asking defenders to do different things. Like, this guy's running, you've got to, step up quickly and stop him, hit him hard. This guy's running, you've got to, stay on your toes and be ready to go if he steps around you or whatever. Or this guy's running, he's going to take that angle, so be careful to hold that line where you are in the defense. All these little things, which I guess these are things that come through the season as well. And the Warriors probably have been dealt a bit of an unlucky one by having Issac Luke, missed pretty much the whole off-season with injury, working his way back still, probably even when he is, fully healthy, he's not going to be, he's going to take a couple extra weeks to get that match fitness going as well. It's just kind of the way it goes when you miss a lot of time. So there's things that they're definitely going to improve on just naturally as the season progresses. It's not been the start I think we expected from them necessarily, just in terms of win-loss. I think probably with some of those games they should have been a little, should have got one or two more W's on the board there. But it's a long season, and this is kind of the way the NRL works. It's a tricky old competition.
Yeah, and I don't think we've got the finished article of the best 17 either.
Nah, definitely
I think
not.
there's going to be things will happen throughout the season that are going to change, and I think the team that we see come finals footy will be a little bit different to the team we see now. And also, just a shout out, I've labelled Blake Ashford the best club man at the Warriors, just for what he does for the club in terms of having a top 30 roster spot, but playing in reserve grade and just doing whatever the club needs him to do, offering a bit of experience in reserve grade, and just being a good dude to have around the club. I'd also like to chuck in Gerard Beale there, because Gerard Beale, at this stage, he's pretty much still an international footballer. And he came from the Sharks as one of the, pretty much as a premiership winner. No, I don't know if he was one of the ones who was lured back across the ditch, but now he's not even a regular member of the Warriors top 17, but he's always there ready to go. He's always there to play wing. He's always there to play, ready to play centre. Whatever the club needs Gerard Beale to do, he's doing it. And I think you're going to see Patrick Herbert get NRL time at some stage as well. He's a very dangerous outside back, centre or fullback, probably going to play centre, used to be with your Dragons last season. He's like the young gun coming through at the centre position, and he will definitely get a game or some minutes here or there at some stage. But Gerard Beale's the senior man, and he is still the best backup option. And I just want to shout out Gerard Beale, because there's no ego there. There's no I should be playing ahead of all these dudes. No kicking up a fuss. He is just doing whatever is required at this stage and is happy to be there for his club, and that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, but here's the thing with that. I reckon he should be top 17. Gerard Beale, he is another ex-Dragon player as well. I wasn't always the biggest fan of him at the Dragons because he was a little too solid in just a solid team, which needed a bit more flair. But in this particular Warriors team, I think he's just such a good fit. I pick him ahead of Peter Hiku for sure.
There you have it. Get Gerard Beale in there.
Do it.
Peter Hiku or Solomani Kato. I think at this stage either one of them. Maybe both. Maybe we just get rid of both. Peter Hiku, Gerard Beale, Patrick Herbert, get them in there, different centre pairing, see what happens.
Hey, what you got to lose?
Not a whole lot at this stage, Wildcard.
Yeah, early season. This is when you can still try some things without those, massive playoff implications on the line.
Roger Dodger. That's all for our Warriors Nichecast episode. They are coming up against the North Queensland Cowboys on Saturday at Mount Smart.
Oh, it's a sitter.
And that's the thing about the Warriors. They're winning the games they should win. They defeated the Bulldogs. They defeated the Gold Coast Titans. And this Cowboys team is pretty damn mediocre. They should defeat the Cowboys as well. And that's just the Warriors at this stage. Winning games they should win, and hopefully learning from their losses against the better teams as well. Kia kaha. Kia kaha. Ciao for now.